Welcome into K-State Online. I am Mason Voth. That is Drew Galloway. Believe it or not, we're already at Thursday, and we are still talking transfer portal. Yeah, we had some basketball stuff to break it up in the middle of the week, but we know that everybody's here for a lot of the portal goods, and we are going to deliver that today because there's some notable visitors that are coming around, and time to get everybody updated on what's going on with that. But before we do that, we sit here 13 days away from Christmas, Drew, less than 2 weeks. You've already established that your family is SOL. They can't get the gift of Ireland from you because they've already bought all their tickets. And so just let that be a lesson for the rest of you. Do what Drew's family did. Go to cats2ireland.com and get set up, because I was going to say you could change somebody's life. I don't know that it's going to be life-changing for them, but it's going to be close to it. Because you can give the perfect gift for the Cats fan in your life this holiday season by giving your friends and family the trip of a lifetime to see the Wildcats take on the Cyclones in the 2025 Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland. Visit cats2ireland.com for information on official travel and hospitality packages. That's cats, the number 2, Ireland.com. So we sit here. I'm trying to do math again.
I have a fun fact about Ireland today.
Okay, I give it to us.
Learned this yesterday. The Skywalker Island in the 8th and 9th Star Wars in Ireland.
Okay, just in Ireland? You don't know where?
Don't know where. Saw it on TikTok. So, what are you going to do?
All right. Well, I'm going to task you that we need an Ireland fact every day. After I do the Cats to Ireland read, you have to give us an Ireland fact.
I think I can do that leading up to the game. That is significantly less facts than I would have had to come up with if we did this at the beginning. So
yeah, I mean, I've chopped basically 4 months off for you here by waiting to ask for it until now, and then I'll just spring it on DY randomly when he's on his next appearance here on the KSO show, and I'll make him just whatever he's got off the top of his head, which who knows what it would be, maybe nothing. So yeah, just be prepared. Tomorrow, I need another Ireland fact. It can be as small or big as you want it to be, but good to know. I mean, you can even tomorrow find the specific islands and part of Ireland that maybe the Skywalker Island is from. So I'd be interested in that to know. I bet there's a lot of especially a lot of like the coastal parts of Ireland. I bet there have been like a lot of filming for movies and TV done in those spots. So. All right, we're going to talk portal again for everybody that is obviously interested in that, because it is such a big, important deal in college football currently. And there are a couple of visits lined up for K-State. Let's talk about them, and we'll start with a guy that we've already brought up on this specific platform. All these guys have been mentioned in other spots throughout KSO, maybe not right here. But one I know we talked about is Jack Tanner, the offensive lineman from Tulsa, because he was one of the first portal guys that made it known that K-State had reached out and offered him. They gave him his offer on December 3rd. 3 years left to play out of Tulsa, was a freshman this year. And the size is there. We talked about that. He will be visiting K-State and KU here in pretty rapid succession. And I don't know if this is a fun fact for people out there, but the one that I learned was that his mom and uncle went to KU. So that's not maybe the most exciting part about this. But what do you know with the Jack Tanner update?
So Jack Tanner, like you said, is from Tulsa, originally from Texas. K-State, KU, Northwestern. That really seems to be the top three. And it's funny that, like we talked before we started recording, that you brought up that he has family members that went to KU. I said that Northwestern is kind of confident too, and I get that sense from K-State. So this is a classic, like anybody's guess on what is going to end up happening here. He has already visited KU. He just got done wrapping up at Northwestern, and will be at K-State over the weekend. So it's one to watch out for in that sense of he's coming on campus, and it looks like that there are 3 schools that are near the top. And I've talked about this here. I talked about this with you right before we started. Portal recruitments are so fast and so rapid and change so much nothing would surprise me with anybody. So you kind of look at that as like, okay, he's coming onto campus. So like that's one where you really need to watch out for, because fireworks can happen at any time. I remember the classic example of a portal recruitment can go extremely quick, and it doesn't matter if these guys have a lot of offers, no offers, lots of visits scheduled, no visits scheduled, because Jaden Jackson, when he committed to K-State, just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I think that he had another, I want to say it was like Arkansas that was involved, and was another visit that he had scheduled, and then that visit never takes place. He commits to K-State. So it is kind of like at the high school level, but to the extreme here, because things can change so quick.
So I was looking at this last year that we talked, or from last year, we talked about how fast this all moves. I don't know. Maybe he ended up doing it on Instagram or something. I can't remember. All these kids and loving Instagram now. How silly is that? But Easton Kilty is a guy that on Twitter, he never posted that he got an offer from K-State, and he never posted his commitment there. It's just all of a sudden you see there. So I do think he was an Instagram guy. But honestly, to me, if it's not on Twitter, X, whatever the heck you call it, it's not real. So that's I'm going to count that as also being an in the dark thing. Because I'm on Instagram, but like I'm not. I treat that more like Facebook, where it's like very personal friends or whatever, and I'm posting pictures of my daughter in baseball stadiums. I'm not following 20-year-old kids on there unless it's my younger brother.
I'll go and like I'll do the occasional stalking on Instagram, like when it comes to this, because a lot of times, especially with like transfer guys, I'll see like an Instagram or a Snapchat story, and like that's how you really get to see where they are on visits. Easton Kilty's Instagram was private right up until he committed to K-State. So was Brock Heath's, actually.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. I'm telling all these guys, move it back to Twitter unless you're going to do the Instagram live. That is a surefire way to get me to follow you for like 20 minutes or however long until you make your announcement on Instagram live, because I will follow and turn on the notification. And then the second it's over, I will unfollow you. So I just want that to I'm being honest here. There are certain apps now that's like, if it wasn't so ingrained in like how my wife has gotten me, I would not use them. Like, Snapchat is one of those now that I don't have much of a use for. My best friends on Snapchat now are my brothers, my wife, my mother-in-law, and that's it. It's like, I just, not that that's a bad thing, but it does make me feel like, this is kind of a worthless medium. Anyways, let's talk about another important transfer name to know, and that's a corner from Oklahoma. 2 years left to play for Jaden Rowe. Just finished up his sophomore season at Oklahoma. Hasn't really seen a ton of time at OU, though, but he was a 4-star player, top 300 guy coming out of high school in the 2021 class, and looking for a new home and probably a place to really jumpstart his actual playing career. What do we know about Jaden Rowe?
Jaden Rowe is actually a guy that has already visited K-State and did so yesterday. And like you said, not a lot of production at Oklahoma. We think 2 years to play, but since he didn't play at all this year, he's trying to petition, and he put it in his transfer portal tweet that I don't really read a lot of those, but like when it comes to like eligibility and everything, I'm like, okay, like, but let me look at this. He did post at 2 or 3 years, so
he did
get that third year. Freak athlete, and from what we know, it doesn't really sound like a lot of teams are really involved. And this is the kind of recruitment that I think that K-State needs more of. We talked about it with Gabe Powers yesterday, that this is a former 4-star guy, doesn't have a lot of production, but you think that the talent's going to be there, and especially you're going to 105 players, and everybody's getting paid now. You would assume that Jaden Rowe would be a kind of guy that, since he doesn't have a lot of production, is probably on the cheaper end of your NIL deals, because he just doesn't have a lot of production or playing time yet. And this is the type of flyer that I would take 100 out of 100 times. Jaden Rowe is 6'3" and ran a 10.3 100 in high school. That is like freak level stuff. And if he could put it together, that's a guy that, like we talked about how high Julius Brenson went in the NFL draft. If Jaden Rowe can stay healthy and put it all together, that's a guy that probably goes in the first round.
Yeah. It does make me laugh, the announcement, 2 to 3 years remaining, which just, again, goes to highlight how laughable the NCAA is at times. It's like these guys don't even know how much like eligibility they have remaining, because a guy like Jaden Rowe looks around and goes, okay, theoretically I have 2, but I know other guys in this situation would get that third year back. That's one of those funny things. You also talk about the announcements, and we were mixing in great information from Drew with also just observations of this era that we're in with social media and the portal and everything else. I don't think anybody reads the full text or tweet about I'm entering the portal. I'm going to the draft. Couple of things. This is my little thing on this. If you don't have any eligibility remaining, we do not need a tweet or a post about you entering the NFL draft. That would be assumed. Unless you're not good enough for it, then don't say that you're pursuing an NFL career. Just be realistic with yourself. You've gotten to play a lot more football than the rest of us would have been able to. Be happy with that, but realize you're not an NFL guy. Secondly, I don't know that we need the I'm going to be back for another year posts either, unless you're a guy that there is some questions because, okay, you've been here for 17 years and then you've got a COVID year and 4 medical red shirts like Cam Rising. Okay, maybe we could do that, but I don't need, if you're a guy that it's like, oh, I'm a red shirt sophomore. Yeah, I think you're going to be back next year, dude. Well, it's fine. I'm not. You're whatever. Then I saw somebody else talking about this the other day, but with that being said, being the go-to line in all of these.
Scott Van Pelt said this.
Yes. And he was spot on that it's the new version of no offense, but you suck. That kind of thing. Totally with you. Let's find some new language to throw out there. Some new verbiage to kind of make this thing a little bit different, spicier. And then also, I don't need every one of these to be the length of my middle school basketball paper that said that I either made the team or didn't make the team. We don't need it to be that where it's like, oh, do I have to go all the way to the end of this? It's like, I'm skipping there anyways, probably. So we don't need it to be that long. Also, a very fun fact about me. I got cut from the 7th grade basketball team. I did not like the basketball coach at all. Shout out Coach Petz. Later got removed from the 7th grade basketball job when my brother was in 7th grade for maybe jokingly threatening harm to parents on the team. That's still a little, whatever. The form that told me I had been cut was basically like very generic. It was like, I got to work on the shooting or whatever. And it's like, I'm an overweight, undersized 7th grader. The only thing I can do and provide on a basketball court is shoot the ball. And I know how to play the game. If you had said too slow, too fast, something like that. Okay. So I read the letter in the car. I turned around. I went back in the gym and I just confronted this 65-year-old man head on. And I was like, what was the real reason here? What was the deal? And then you look and he's trying to put a cross country team on the floor. My dad is still like this too. We both still harbor very strong feelings against this man. I did get to play in 8th grade though, and that went well. They looked past the slow and fatness and they said, oh, this guy can shoot a little bit. He's going to make the extra pass. Let's do that. So yes, that's my basketball story. And look, I bet if I had Instagram in the 7th grade, maybe I would have had to have made a post about it and some big long thing. I'm not going to be there this year, guys.
Yeah. I mean, the tweets of the posts, it is pretty wild. But that was definitely something that caught my eye with Jaden Rowe was 2 or 3 years. And what's crazy is that, Jaden Rowe puts out he could have 3 years, but if he puts it together, I said that he might, that's a guy that is that third year is definitely not happening because he'd be in NFL.
Yeah, this is one of those things that we did talk about it with Gabe Powers, and we'll say it throughout all of these. This just feels like the type of guy that a lot of teams like K-State need to take bigger opportunities on. Like, yes, you also want to see guys that come in that are proven, because then there's a little bit more substance there. It's a little bit more of a sure thing, because you can't build a portal class with guys only like this, because then you might end up with 15 busts.
There's a higher floor on the guys that are more proven, but there's a lot higher ceiling on a guy like Jaden Rowe.
Yeah, and like, if you're taking a flyer on just one of 1,000 kids that are the same as what most of like a high school recruiting class would look like, and then they don't do anything, it's like, okay, you probably wasted your time, whatever NIL resources you gave to it. This one I'm in support of, so I'm not going to fault them if a player like this doesn't work out, because this is what I do think teams should do more of. You're kind of give the second opportunity, because, I mean, it's not like we think Oklahoma's been utilizing their talent correctly under Brent Venables, right? So I think you give them a shot, and think we've been pretty good for a lot of defensive back transfers. So let's see if we can kind of crack the code again, which leads us to the next guy in Marquavius Moss, who also a DB transfer. And we've seen K-State dip their toes into the FCS waters before to get some of their DBs. Reggie Stubblefield being one of those, Marquise Siegel being another one. Josh Hayes was also in that mix. But now here we sit with a D2 transfer in Marquavius Moss, who has, we think 3 years of eligibility remaining, because he only played in one game in junior college's true freshman year at Dodge City. And then this year played obviously in every game for West Georgia. So what is the detail on Marquavius Moss, and why is this an important recruitment for K-State? Why should people be excited about this?
Hey, I'll raise you one. West Georgia is now FCS. This was their first year. I think this was their first year as an FCS program.
Okay.
But it says that he's a sophomore on the West Georgia website, but there is just no shot, or somebody lied about him only playing one game at Dodge City. So I don't know what's going on there. But you look at Marquavius Moss, and again, secondary transfers at K-State have been really, really good for the most part, outside of probably like a handful of guys, honestly. And even some of their misses have still been guys that have been good enough to start. So you look at Marquavius Moss, and you see what K-State has been doing with them. And what's intriguing about Moss is that he has 5 sacks on the season at West Georgia, so he can do a little bit of everything for you. Makes sense to add a safety transfer. I know that this past recruiting class has a bunch of safeties in it, but you probably need an older guy that can go and play right away. So Moss makes a lot of sense. Also, really fun name, really fun hairstyle.
It's true.
And there's a lot of competition for him. He'll be on campus this weekend as well, and has a lot of other visitors or a lot of other visits planned. And this is one where you kind of talk about like what it does a portal recruitment look like. Well, this is Marquavius Moss's schedule. Are you ready? He was just at Georgia Tech. He's currently at Tulane. He'll be at K-State this weekend. He'll be at Virginia on Sunday. He'll be at Houston next Monday or Tuesday, and then Minnesota that following Wednesday. That is what the portal is like right now. But like I said, anything can happen on these visits, especially with transfers. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets moved or bumped or cut, or Moss just commits before he takes all of his visits.
Yeah, there's somebody, I think one of the guys we talked about yesterday too was one of those that it was like they've got 6 visits over the next 7 days or something that are lined up. Maybe it was Teague Anderson is one of those, the Utah State transfer we talked about yesterday. I'd have to go back and kind of look to see exactly how many it is, but I just know it was fast and furious. And that's one of those things that you get with this. And that's why, to what you're saying, when, hey, maybe some of these visits don't happen because a commitment ends up going down. That's why these portal recruitments happen so fast, is because, yes, these guys start to line all this stuff up, but they don't want to dilly-dally. They don't want to take forever with this. And so if they find the place, they're going to call it off and not waste their time and take all of these visits. And that's why out of the blue, you can think one guy's visiting tomorrow and then, oh, nope, that's not happening anymore. I mean, think about how many times that we talked about that during basketball portal season.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, we think this guy is visiting Wednesday, and then, by Tuesday night, oh, he's not going to get on that plane. Or, Monday afternoon, nope, he actually just committed to Memphis or wherever it may be. So that's one of those things with the portal that is so fascinating, and why you really have to be on your toes with it. We know that there's a ton of names flying around, but it's also trying to make sure you're aware of everything else that's going on with it. So what else in the transfer portal should we know right now ahead of the weekend really kicking off tomorrow?
I would just say to be on the lookout, because it wouldn't be overly surprising to see at least one commitment happen within the next 2-3 days or so. So just be on the lookout. We'll keep you guys updated on other visitors. Like Jaden Rowe was somebody that we didn't know about until he was on campus because he posted on a Snapchat story and somebody saw it. So you really never know with some of these. So we'll always keep you in the know. If something breaks, that Mason and I will be right here talking, and probably talking about some Ireland fun facts too.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, me getting cut from 7th grade basketball team. Still just can't I still can't get over that, because it's, I knew my limitations at some point, but I knew that I was also good enough when you keep 20 guys. I'm like, I'm good enough to still be playing, Al. And it's not because I can't shoot the rock. So yeah, still bitter about that one. We'll never get over it, even though, I've had a pretty good life since then. I'm totally okay with how things worked out. One other thing that I'll mention with the portal, reminder for people, go to KSO over at On3. You can find every piece of portal content we have in one spot. It will lead you to the right place. And hopefully in the near future, some of these guys we're talking about, you're going to start seeing commitment stories attached to the link that is right there and provided for you. And yeah, Teague Anderson was the guy. His game plan here was supposed to be visit Houston on Monday, Missouri Tuesday, then K-State, and then go to Penn State. He also had, I think, a visit scheduled for NC State this weekend as well. So a lot of those things kind of going all over the place. Let's see. Yeah, it's just wild, the process that some of these guys have to go through. Definitely getting familiar with riding on airplanes. So, which maybe we need ahead of going to Ireland next year.
It's wild when you see some of these visit schedules.
Yeah. So we'll keep everybody in the know on it. Tomorrow, I would about guess that we talk portal again, especially if something comes up, because we'll have commitment breakdowns on every one of these guys, go a little bit more in depth with it, talk about it, and just keep everybody up to date on what's going on with K-State in the transfer portal as they still look for their first portal commitment. It's still early. And I think that's one thing to remember in all this, is that while these portal commitments can go fast and some teams already have their commits, it does take a little bit of kind of building up and everything. It's like trains move pretty fast when they've been moving for about 30 minutes, but you're not in the first minute going to really be chugging along at a great rate of speed. No. It has to kind of warm up and get there. So we'll see how it ends up working. Or it's like, my daughter running down our driveway, and she doesn't know that it's downhill, and she's going to start going really fast in about a second and face plant. So that almost happened yesterday. That would have been bad. So I did it, and I stopped her before we got to the street. I'm not allowed to let her walk outside unless there's a fence right now. I was told that yesterday by my wife. So only fenced in yards for both my daughter and my dog. They both act pretty similar. So we'll get out of here. For Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Back again tomorrow talking K-State and the portal, and less about my ill will towards the 7th grade basketball coach at Prairie Hills Middle School.